This is Jennifer Keel. We're here at the Balboa Island Museum with Maxwell Phillips. He will be sharing with us his early memories. It's March 3rd, 2014, and my first question for you would be if you would please tell us why Balboa Island holds such a special place in your heart.
Oh, Balboa Island is really a small town. People come into my store and have always asked me, how can you live so close to each other? And my answer is, we don't live in our houses. We live outside. We sleep in our houses, but we have the biggest pool in the world, and we have the friendliest neighbors in the world. Again, it's really a small community. This side of the Coast Highway, to me, is really Newport Beach. That side is a different world, different values. I love it here.
Do you think that's stayed true throughout the years that you've been here, these values?
Pretty much so, yeah, pretty much so. You know, either you really love the island or you hate it. And it's not for everybody. And I tell people who come into my store, you know, from all over the world, and they'll ask me about the island. And it's just and I travel a lot, you know, as I told you girls. I always come back here, and I always say, this is the place. This is where I really want to be. You know, I've always looked for the place to live, whether it's Croatia or Slovenia, or down in Argentina, New Zealand, India, all over. But Balboa Island, nicest weather, better than Hawaii. It's just a little community, a little gym by itself. And those of us who have been here for a while, or those of us who are moving on to the island, love it.
What year did you move here?
1960. You had to ask me that, didn't you?
You were only 3. Yeah, of course.
Well, I moved here to go to college. Because in high school, we would come down, as everybody had told you about Bal Week, so everybody knew Newport Beach and Balboa Island. Unlike the students today, we really never had the money. Coming down here was always a big thing. And so I moved here, I had an apartment that was $60 a month, and I went to Orange Coast College. I was there for 2 years, then went on to other schools.
With those early memories in high school, what was that like for you?
Well, my high school days were in North Hollywood, and it's living in Los Angeles. And I realized the values there that they had were different from mine. I surfed at that time. And I think when you're used to the ocean, the smell of the ocean, you know, it's very hard to get away. I went to school in Arizona. I had a very hard time at school there. Not because it was a bad school, but I missed the ocean. And when I travel very close to the ocean, very close to water and stuff like that. The ions, I don't know, but I'm very comfortable here. And I told my wife, if I'm ever sick, wheel me out of the house and put my nose into the wind. Let me smell the salt air. I'll be better.
Those restorative properties, certainly.
Yeah. But I'm sure other people who've been here for a long time will say the same. You know, our houses are worth a lot of money, so there's really no place in the country we can't live if we sold our house. But no matter how small our lots are, you know, I live on a very small lot, and my friends all live on very big lots, or acreage. I don't even know what an acre is. I have no conception. I don't care. You know, it's only a place where I sleep. I like my little house.
Would you share a little bit about your home?
I built my home about, many people here inherit their houses. It was either the grandparents' house or their own house. I was very lucky I was able to buy a tear-down house many years ago. And I always wanted a Cape Cod type house, so I built my little Cape Cod house. I designed it. I was a contractor on it, right? Never did it before, but I did many stores before, you know. So my house was already built in my mind. It just hadn't been put on the ground and put together. So it has a Cape Cod feeling to it. It has 2 bedrooms and fireplaces in them, and fireplaces downstairs. And my stove was made in 1920, you know.
It's charming.
You know, yeah. My wife hates the stove.
I'm sure.
She hates the stove. But I love my stove.
Would you share a memory that brings out your inner child in you that kind of took place on the island?
Actually, like most people here, I don't think I've ever really grown up. I think a lot of us here have a Peter Pan syndrome, and I think we are able to be accepted here with that. We don't know what it is to be old. You know, old is the next person or somebody who's walking down the street, but I'm not old. Old is in your head. I think every day to me is a party day. You know, it's always a fun day. I meet some of the strangest people I have in the store. I meet a lot of people, you know, in the store. The 60s were fun for me because I was single at the time, and there were a lot of single people here. Like I told you, a lot of school teachers from the Midwest, a lot of military here, a lot of college students here. So there was always a party going on all the time. And the party consisted of a gallon of Red Mountain wine, which at the time cost $1.50, a couple bags of potato chips, and a couple bottles of Wink. And Wink was a soft drink that had a grapefruit taste to it. So we used to make wine coolers out of it. So we can have a party for about $4. So, you know, for lots of people.
Where would you typically hold these parties?
Oh, people's houses usually. And the houses were really open houses. There was never any problem at all, you know. A few people maybe getting sick at the end of it, but basically it was very harmless. But like I said, we had the Bird Club, which is this organization here, and we would have different things. We'd have Mexican Revolution parties for Cinco de Mayo. We would have Ben Franklin kite flying contest. We'd have the tricycle race around the island, which you have pictures of. I wish I had pictures of the other ones, of the other events.
What other events would you hold? Maybe share some.
God, I don't. Those are probably the biggest ones. The other ones were just parties at people's houses and stuff like that.
Great.
And the Village Inn, of course, everybody would migrate to the Village Inn on Wednesdays and Thursday nights.
How has that changed over time? You shared right before our interview the line that would wrap
Oh,
around.
I think what happens are times change. You have to realize that the 60s was a much different time. Social differences there. People here were from other areas and other thoughts. I still remember talking to people who were from the East Coast, teachers again, or military. And they were from like big universities like Brown and Yale and Harvard would be here. And they talked about things that I never talked about. Talked about politics. They talked about literature. They talked about art. There was just a whole new world of people that came to this area. Otherwise, we used just to talk about getting drunk or surfing. And I think they made a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives and value. That you all of a sudden you turn 21 or 22 or 23, you say, I want to be like these type of people. You know, I don't want to be just sitting around. You know, they thought money wasn't the issue, it was more of one's education. So anyway, they brought the world out to me personally.
Fascinating.
I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, certainly that shapes a community with an outside
Yeah, it was different. There wasn't a lot of money. There was money here. You never saw the money.
Yeah.
Not as you do today, you know. People there their values were a lot different. People who had money was old money. They never showed it. There was never any really new money here at that point in time. They all lived in LA.
What would be the earliest memory that you have of Balboa Island?
Oh, it was probably junior high school and coming down for Bal Week, you know, trying to get somebody who had a car to come down here. And I think, again, most people you talked about that was the big social event. Again, we didn't have the money. I mean, kids today, they go to Hawaii, they go to Mexico, they go to Mammoth, going skiing. We never did. We never had those type of opportunities. Only the very rich would go to Europe. Only the very rich would go to Hawaii, you know. But most kids, all they wanted was a car to come down here and just cruise the streets. And that's what we did.
That's great. I think that still happens. It is I hear a lot of, sometimes it's usually the Europeans coming here to experience it.
We're seeing a lot more Europeans here. The Europeans who I've talked to, all their houses are expensive here on the island compared to similar areas in Europe. It's very cheap. It's still inexpensive, and they love the island. They love the experience. They love the California experience, and I think the beach is the California experience. I now have many customers. Not many. I have customers who come from Russia that come into my store, and I have 3 guys who are from Siberia and 2 who are from Moscow, and they come into my store. Now we never ask them what these guys do. One guy speaks English, but they buy Hawaiian shirts from me. And as I said, what are you guys doing? Now, just to show you how small the world is, what are you guys doing buying Hawaiian shirts? You live in Russia. Well, we go to the Red Sea, we go to the Mediterranean, we go around the world. And they wear, I have to order special shirts for them, a little big, but they come in twice a year to buy them. And
It's really interesting.
and we have a guy, one of the senators from Spain who come in here. We have a guy who's the second biggest pineapple grower in the world. He lives in Indonesia. He comes in and we get special shirts for him. It's just, but they love the island. Everybody loves the island.
Would you share some of the stores that you've had over the years?
Well, Aardvark was always in my heart, my favorite. And Aardvark was my hippie store. And I used to have, who am I trying to think about? Fleetwood Mac. Who's this singer for a woman singer?
Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, Stevie Nicks used to be shopping in my store. And the one who played in Gilligan's Island, the one.
Ginger or?
Yeah.
Mary Ann.
No, Mary Ann. Who was
Mary
that?
Ann. The brunette.
That's
No, this is we're redhead.
Oh, that's Ginger.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Anyway, she just shopped in the store too, and I got all sorts of rock and rollers with one of the girls used to play guitar in my store, and she was playing with some, and she had a couple of guitars, and this guy was playing the guitar with her, and I'm like, God, this guy's pretty good. Well, it was Crosby from Crosby, Stills and Nash would be coming into the store. So we had all types of people who would be in the store. And it was just a great time. It was just a mystical time, shall we say. No, I had more than one store, one Aardvark store. I had 7 stores at one time.
Okay.
And my favorite, of course, was my Laguna store, because that was really...
That's where all of the people gather. That's pretty
Well, I helped
neat.
start the Sawdust Festival there in Laguna.
That's fantastic.
I used to design clothes and bring in handmade clothes into the fair. You remember the Indian tapestry clothes?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I used to do.
Wow.
I used to make clothes out of old Indian tapestries.
It's very interesting. Would you have a favorite story about some new celebrities that you've encountered here?
You know what? I told you, the one I remember most was, you remember a show called MASH?
Right, yeah.
And there was a guy who played Father Mahoney,
Mm-hmm.
and he came into my store one time to buy a bathing suit. And I didn't recognize people, I told you that. And he came in there and he bought this bathing suit. I'm looking at him and I said, aren't you the guy who played Father Mahoney? And he says, yes. So he comes in to pay for it. I says, the suit's yours. And he says, no, I want to pay for it. He says, no, you've given me so much pleasure over my life, right, that I want to give you this suit. And I still remember that. Yeah, so I give him the suit.
Love that show.
Yeah.
But so many things. I have an order of priest. I think they're in Hacienda Heights, who buy Hawaiian shirts from me. I have a ministry in Buffalo who buys Hawaiian shirts, and in January in Buffalo, New York, they hold a luau. when the snow drifts 8 feet against the church. But those are my favorite stories, and you know. And we have a group of Santa Clauses that can come to the store and buy shirts too, Christmas shirts from us.
That's pretty neat. So how did you decide to make Balboa Island your home?
Oh God, it's impossible to say how wouldn't you make Balboa Island. I think people who, you know, God, it's hard to say. We're much different than Laguna Beach. We're much different than Huntington Beach. Laguna has changed throughout the years. And the same person, when I first moved down, would be in Laguna too, same type of person. But as the economics got so, the people who made these areas, how can I explain it? Did you ever read Steinbeck's Cannery Row? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When I first moved to Newport Beach, Newport was like Cannery Row. A lot of characters that were in here, right? But as the property got more expensive and such that everybody moved away, I was very lucky that I was able to buy a lot, you know, to build a house on. I probably wouldn't have if I wasn't at the right time, you know, the right place at the right time. And I think all of my best investments I've had so far have always been my little house. Because I always wanted to live here, but I never thought I'd ever be able to.
What year did you make that transition to move here?
You mean to move here full time,
Yes.
or my house? Well, I moved here full time in 1960.
Okay.
But my home I built in 1985. To me, it seems new, but as I'm looking at it now, it's older than you girls.
It's funny because I thought you had a new house too, because I remember you building it.
Yeah.
But that's right, that was 27 years.
No,
As we get older, the
30
time
years
goes
ago.
faster, doesn't it? You know?
It's neat that you made Balboa Island your home and your place of business.
I'm like, you know, when I go to work sometimes, and I'm much older than you girls are, of course. I have a lot of friends who drive the freeways. I never drove for freeways in my life. And I walk to work, and in the morning when I'm walking to work, I'm like, oh God, I gotta go to work. And I'm walking along the, the boardwalk, South Bayfront. I'm watching the boats go out, and the birds fly, fly, and the sun's coming over the hill. And I'm like, what am I doing? What am I complaining about? This is perfect. Go down, go into Wilma's now, have my coffee, talk to everybody there, read my newspaper, and walk across the street to go to work. I drive 100 miles a month. I don't even, people talk about the price of gasoline. I don't know. I put up maybe 3,000 miles on my car a year, maybe, after going on a trip. I don't drive.
It's another way of life.
It's another way of life, yeah. Again, it's small town.
Right.
We're probably the only area where you can walk in and talk to the owner of the stores or talk to everybody. It's a very friendly area.
Absolutely. Do you have any special holiday memories that relate to Balboa Island?
Oh God, I would think that the holidays that I relate to, of course, is the boat parade. And I think most people here, that's our big holiday. I was told that's the second biggest boat parade in the nation. Did anybody mention that to you?
I think I've seen something similar in the article.
Yeah.
Being one of the largest.
Yeah, but it used to be a lot bigger than it was before. But
Okay.
again, you have to understand, times have changed. There are more things that take up our time. We have more choices. Earlier, this, like the Tresco race, right, was a big thing because there wasn't that many places to go. I mean, as far as restaurants and bars go, there was only really 2 places you could go to a bar. And that was either here at the Villa Marina or the Jolly Rogers. Not until the Chart House opened in the mid-60s was there, were any other restaurants really in the area. So there wasn't really Fashion Island didn't really exist and stuff like that.
Can Can you share some of this memory here that you have of the bicycle or the tricycle races?
Oh yeah, well guys would start making these things. At first, when we first started, we thought it would be just be little kids' tricycles, but people really got involved. They really would go to machine shops and have them made, and they would spend 6 months making their bikes for the race.
And then how did you get the position of being the Grand Marshal
I was
for
one
the
of the,
parade?
I was one of the founders.
Oh, okay. Rite of passage, of privilege
Yeah,
of
plus
establishing.
I own the uniform.
But you still have, you shared, so
Yes, I
you
still have the
treasure.
shirt, yeah.
That's great. Wow.
Do you need anything else from you girls?
Well, we were also wondering if there's been any life-changing events that have taken place at the island.
God, I don't know. I don't think so. I think maybe people here are changing. Maybe because I'm getting older, the same type of feeling of the island may be changing. It's not as homespun as it was. Maybe it's because I'm older. I don't know. There were a lot more kids when I was here on the island before. It could be because of the price of properties have squeezed out families with children now. There are still, I don't like it that the old houses are being torn down. I think that's part of the heritage of the area that I miss. But that's progress, If I was spending $1.5 million for a lot with an old house on it, maybe I'd tear the house down too.
Is that, you think the overall sentiment is just kind of progress, move forward, and kind of...
It is, but we fight it. We fight it.
You sense that? There's kind of like a movement to preserve the historic homes?
Yeah, there is, but it's very hard, these houses are getting bigger and bigger here on the island. People are using every square inch they can, and even going higher. You're losing the island feeling because of this. I feel that it's not, a lot of these houses now are becoming second homes to a lot of people here.
In another interview, an individual mentioned the term island people. Do you relate to that?
Yeah, I do, to a sense. Sometimes I think island people, we have a sense of our small community here. Some island people, I think, can use the term as almost being a snobbish thing, which I don't like. I know I'm gonna get a bunch of flack over this one. I don't like the idea of the people who live on the little island consider themselves different than people who live on Balboa Island. Some of these people would like to have the little island there with a gate on it or stuff like that. I go, give me a break, But you get this but that's in any community. You'll always find people like that. We are what we are. This is Balboa Island. This is what we are. This is Newport Beach.
Who is this?
So we are. A lot of people don't want outsiders to even come down and use the bay. Yet everybody pays for the bay.
Right.
That means if you lived in Santa Ana or you live in Whittier, part of your tax goes to the upkeep of the bay. I think people should have access to the bay, and we're getting less and less access to the bay.
Interesting. Would you share your favorite story about a business on Marine Avenue?
A business?
Yes, even if it doesn't exist today.
Oh God, I have to think on that one. God, you know what? I really don't know the businesses on Balboa Island. I don't know who owns them. I just do my little thing in my little store, and I've always walked in and walked out. Maybe Dad's would probably be the closest one. It's always been a gathering point here on the island. I think other people who talked about that will talk about the Jolly Rogers has always been the gathering point here, on the island.
In one of the historic books of Balboa Island, they have a picture of Dad's the group of men that would join there early in the morning.
They're still there. Only thing that changes is when one dies and then the new one will replace them.
Yeah.
Like my mother.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's just,
my mother.
God,
do you
God
know-
help you if you try to walk through them in the morning, you have to go across the street.
You remember it getting established? I heard it starts in there.
No,
in the
I don't,
70s.
but there was a guy there, Jim Ibbotson, and I asked him about that, because he's an old timer in the island, and I was asking about the frozen bananas. Who started the frozen bananas
right.
first? And he said it was Sugar and Spice was the one who started it first, but not Dad's.
Wow.
I've got to call into him also.
Yeah. You know,
He's gonna come in and talk to us. He's going to Cabo San Lucas this weekend, but he's
no,
supposed to come
not
in.
Jim, Jim's not gonna go to Cabo.
No. Who is it? The person who worked at Sugar and Spice? Dan Cook. Don Cook.
I bet.
He said his parents did Sugar and Spice.
Might have been,
Ah.
might have been.
Okay.
His mother was a raspy woman.
I
Look.
know. My daughter worked for her.
Oh, take that off. She went out, she moved down south somewhere, didn't she? She sold the business and moved down south somewhere.
Any other memories you'd like to gather as
No,
you
not,
consider it?
not so much. It's really, if I was, as a woman, right, I think it's probably one of the safest places for you to, you can walk around the island at 3 in the morning and feel relatively safe. Always be aware, of course, but you're gonna feel relatively safe here. It's, again, a very small town feeling here. Once you come over the bridge, it's very, very small town.
Mm-hmm.
Our crime here is relatively small. I only remember of one killing here on the island, but that's another story.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your
You're
time.
very
We're
welcome, girls.
glad
You're very,
we could
very
be
welcome.
here.